Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry. Coming up on the first half of today's show, does the thought of speaking at a company meeting or delivering a speech at a live presentation keep you up at night? Well, you're going to want to be listening in. We have public speaker and presentation skills specialist Susanna Baum. She's going to be here to help you go from nervous to nailed it. And then on the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about the increasing use of cannabinoids for effective pain management. Medical cannabis expert Dr. Michael Dworkin will be joining us to tackle this topic, along with many other issues related to medical cannabis versus recreational cannabis. And that's going to be coming up after the 3:30 news. So I hope everyone survived their first week of snow, and kudos to those who managed to get through it without your winter tires on. I'm sure there's a couple of white-knuckle drives out there. Well, let's put it this way. You could be living in Buffalo. Holy Pete, I don't know if you saw some of those images coming out of Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills NFL team even had to reschedule their game over to Detroit, and now they're just trying to get the players out as we speak out of Buffalo to get to Detroit. Something else. So not so bad here in Montreal, but get those tires on if you haven't yet. All right. I've been looking forward to our next guest. I've done a lot of public speaking in my time, and I'll still get some butterflies before presentations. And for some, public speaking can be downright paralyzing. Well, let's bring in Susanna Baum. Susanna is a public speaking and presentation skills specialist, executive speech coach, speaker, and author of From Nervous to Nailed It. Find your voice, present with impact, and unleash your ultimate speaking potential. She helps business professionals find their voice, share their message, and communicate with confidence, clarity, and impact. Susanna, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's great to be here.
Well, glad to have you back. Love when you're on the show. And you recently launched a book called Nervous to Nailed It, as I mentioned. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. So the book was a few years in production, and it is the accumulation of years and years of work and research and coaching with clients, learning what the main challenges are and leading people through these challenges. So as you mentioned before, some people really start with the nervousness. They even hold themselves back. They don't even put themselves in situations where they may speak up at meetings or give presentations, avoid it altogether. But it's meant for those individuals, but it's also meant for those who do speak regularly and just want better results from their presentations, like more sales, more meetings, more connection with people. And it's even meant for those higher level CEOs, the higher level professionals who speak all the time. They know that they're good, but they also know they can be better.
Yeah, you know.
So it addresses the speaking, but it also addresses how can we help people speak up in meetings, also gain the confidence within to speak up and share their message.
Well, the book certainly addresses many different types of people, and let's dig a little deeper, Susanna, with them. So let's start with worst case scenarios, those that are just avoiding public speaking. In fact, I could see them just walking right by your book because I don't want to deal with this. They're just so nervous. So how can this book help out those people?
Absolutely. You know what? Those people who walk by the book. I have had some clients who have said that they've been thinking about public speaking for a long time, but every time they do, they shy away from it. They know that they want to be able to speak up. They want to be that person, and they don't feel like it's within them. So the first thing we really address is resetting the mindset, right? So this is, as I say, the mindset reset, which is how can we move our mindset away from the nerves that we feel and the confidence that we feel we lack and all of the fears of being judged and saying the wrong thing and making a mistake, and just focus instead on how can I deliver value to whoever I'm speaking with, whether it's a group, whether it's in a business meeting, whether it's that one person in front of us. How can I deliver value to that person? So that's really step number one with all of my clients that I work with is we address it, we acknowledge that there is a lack of confidence, that acknowledge that there is nervousness, but we just push it aside and say, okay, let's stop talking about you for a little while, and let's start talking about the audience and how you can create an impact on them. And that's really helpful just to get people out of their heads, right? And starting to open themselves up to the possibilities of what they can accomplish.
Listening to Life Unrehearsed, I'm Matt Del Vecchio, and that's Susanna Baum, public speaker and presentation skills specialist. She's helping us be able to do, feel a little more comfortable in our public speaking. I love that point there, Suzanne. Resetting the mindset, focus on the value you're delivering and not worry so much about what people are thinking of you. Now, let's step it up a bit to the audience who are seasoned speakers. They're confident. How could they benefit from this book as well?
You know what? So I'll share a quick story that I had one client who was the CEO of an organization, a huge company in Montreal, and from the looks of him, everything was he was just a power player. He actually loved getting in front of his team. He loved getting in front of his employees. He enjoyed it. He had fun. He really liked being the center of attention. Gave presentations all the time, the strategy presentations, the town halls, and so on. But he came to me and he said that his problem was that when he's presenting, which he found very fun, people would nod and say, yes, of course we're going to do this. Great idea, great idea. And then he said nothing happened afterwards. There were no results. People said they would do things, but they just, the inspiration and the motivation didn't carry over to after the meeting. So what we work on in that sense is, number one, how might we change the delivery by restructuring the content sometimes, because the confidence is not enough to be considered a great speaker, or just enjoying the process isn't enough, right? We have to always turn our attention to the audience and what is it that they need to hear and how do they need to hear it. So in his case, we had to look less at his delivery style, but more of how was he sharing the message,
right.
How was he connecting. And the problem in his case was he wasn't quite connecting with the audience. It was a very, strategy-based and business-based, but he wasn't finding the emotional connection to get them to feel the value for them personally. And that's what we worked on for them, that really helped elevate his results longer term, because without that connection, you really can't get your message across properly.
It's one thing to speak well, but you do have to connect. And your subtitle, Find Your Voice, Present with Impact, and Unleash Your Ultimate Speaking Potential. What do you mean by finding your voice?
Well, finding your voice really is all about addressing the individuals who feel like they have a message to share, but they aren't sure how. They don't know how to put it together. They're a little bit nervous. Again, I think of one person. It wasn't a client, but someone who I had met at a meeting once, who owned one of the most successful Tim Hortons franchises in all of Quebec. This was many years ago. And when she found out what I did, she said, I'd really love to talk and I'd love to speak and give these presentations, but I don't even know what I would say. And that really gave me pause, because I thought, well, here's someone who has everything to say about how to build one of the most successful Tim Hortons franchises in all of Quebec, who felt like, well, no, whatever I say isn't important enough. So that's a big piece of it, is how can we ensure that we are being honest with ourselves and not dismissing our expertise, dismissing our knowledge, dismissing our talents, and say, no, you know what I have to share is relevant, and now I want to share it with the world, but how do I do that in a way that delivers value and that connects with that audience? And
then finding your voice. Now, Susanna, you've done your fair share of public speaking as well. We have to head out to traffic, but when we come back, you're going to tell us a little bit a story about how your shoes nearly ruined your presentation. But first, let's head out to the CJAD Traffic Center. We're going to hear from Jill Fitzgerald.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
Susanna, I'm sure you use a lot of your own public speaking experiences when you're help guiding others, and you had an interesting experience. If I understand correctly, it was your shoes that nearly ruined the presentation.
Yes, Matt. You know what? I in a lot of my presentations, I talk about the value, and in my book, I talk about the value of wearing the right clothing when you're giving a presentation. Because, if we're trying to manage our nerves and manage our environment so that we could really focus on the presentation, everything has to be working in tandem, including the shoes. So another piece of background is that, going into any presentation, one thing that I find very important in your wardrobe are the shoes. Because if you're going to be standing up during a presentation, one thing that you have to make sure is that nothing is hurting. Nothing's hurting you on your body when you're presenting. So several years ago, I gave a training. It was meant to be a full day training. And I wore, I bring with me the shoes that are professional. So there's always a heel, but hopefully as comfortable as possible. So what had happened on this day was what I thought were very conservative, professional, small heel shoes kind of failed me. So we started the day, I come in an hour early and I set up set up my handouts, set up my technology in the same pair of shoes. Everybody comes in, we start the training, and about half an hour into the training, so at this point I've been standing up for an hour and a half, but a half an hour into what is supposed to be a full day training, I start feeling these prickles on my feet, and they get worse and worse and worse, so that by the time we hit the first break at 10 a.m., I was in agony, in absolute agony. I walked myself, I think I would have crawled if I could have, walked myself to the washroom at the break. I hauled myself onto the counter and I just sat there and said, what am I going to do the rest of the day? Because a part of my training is how to have a smooth delivery. And a smooth delivery includes how do you stand in front of an audience and how do you move, which doesn't include, hopping from foot to foot because you're in pain. So as I look back now, I think to myself, how did I even get through that day? I think just taking little breaks wherever I could, sitting down and having them present every now and then did help. But the lesson that I learned for all future presentations is now I bring 1, 2, and sometimes 3 pairs of shoes to every presentation because I never want to go through this moment of pain. So I have 1 pair of shoes that I walk in with, the flat shoes while I'm setting up. I have the really nice pair of shoes that I use when I start the presentation. And if it's a full day training, by noon, if I'm having trouble even with those nice shoes, then I move into second layer or sometimes even flat shoes, just if I can't take it anymore, because by then, hopefully the first impression is made and they'll forgive me for wearing the flat shoes. Flat, professional, but still they never look as good. I mean, let's be honest. I know a lot of people will debate me on this, and they have. They will debate and say, always wear flat shoes. Comfort is most important. Yes, I agree. But I think also looking nice and however that outfit comes together. But now I have many layers of many steps and many layers of shoes.
Well, there you go.
That I bring too.
Dress for success, but dress comfortably and smart. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed with Matt Delvecchio and that's Susanna Baum, and we're talking about improving your public speaking and presentation skills. And let's get back to those. And there's a lot of people, Susanna, that get really nervous when even thinking about speaking in front of others. And so what are some of your more popular strategies and techniques that you tell them?
Okay, so the first one, Matt, as we had discussed before, number one is just reset the mindset. Stop thinking about yourself and how you feel, and turn your attention instead on the audience and what they need to hear from you and how you can best serve them. How can your message best serve them? So that's the first thing. The second thing is really committing yourself to getting clear on your message, because, so much of what I have learned over the years and what is in this book, From Nervous to Nailed It, is from years of learning what not to do, from all the years that I've sat in presentations that ended up either boring me, overwhelming me, or just driving me crazy with frustration, right? So, frustration because they went on too long, because there was no point, because it was a waste of time. So really it's about, number one, getting clear on what you want to say. What is that ultimate message that you want to get across to that audience you want them to walk away with? And then how can you put forth this message in a way that is relevant to the audience? Because, again, the true success of a presentation is not how well you feel or how confident you feel. It's what does the audience think? And what are they walking away with? And that's the mark of success, is did you make that impact? And the third thing I would say is really to commit yourself to a structure, right? Once you are clear on what it is you want to say and that message you want to get across to them, well, how do you structure it really in a very focused way, but also in a very engaging way to this audience, so that it's a journey. You take them along on this journey that flows smoothly, that connects with them, that speaks their language, and that ultimately gets your point across, so that you can get that visibility that you deserve, you get the credibility, the authority, but just that you don't have to hang back in the shadows anymore, hoping and wishing you had the skills. You just go ahead and implement. And even if it means trying one new thing per presentation, just one at a time, that's a success too, and seeing how that works.
I love it. And, quite frankly, I didn't even know, Susanna, what you do is making people better in their speaking, whether it's the seasoned veteran or someone just can't go and speak publicly, and you're dealing with all of them. I'd love to hear what are some of the more common requests that you get from clients that are coming to you?
Well, I mean, there are those who just want to be more polished, right? More polished and more confident. Many people come to me and say, I want to feel more confident. I want to feel better about it. And so the first thing is I think sometimes people are hoping for that magic confidence pill that will help them feel better. But it's not about that. It's about, again, as I said, resetting your mindset on how you can best serve an audience. So that's one piece. Many people struggle with meetings, how to act in meetings as well. So again, when I say presentations, I don't only mean public speaking scenarios and speaking at conferences and large audiences. We're talking about how can you just prepare yourself to speak up at a meeting, because so often the opportunities come and go very quickly in a meeting. And if you don't speak up and share what's on your mind, someone else does. And sometimes it's just the worst when what they share is your idea and they get credit for it.
You're bringing up a good point, because, you talk about trying to move within a company and up the ranks, and a lot of it has to do how you act, how you speak in your internal meetings. So good, you got to gain confidence to speak in front of others in meetings and increase your chances to go up the corporate ladder. We're already out of time, Susanna. We can go on forever here. I want to thank you, first of all, and your book is excellent. How can people, our listeners, purchase your book?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking that. So the book is called From Nervous to Nailed It. The website is nervoustoNailedIt.com. So if you just go there, there's a whole bunch of information on the book, on where to purchase it. There on the site gives you a link direct to Amazon. But on the site is also my contact information. So if you wanted to order it directly through me, you wanted to order a bunch of books and not go through Amazon, then you just reach out to me with a direct message, and I will be happy to get back. So again, it's nervoustoNailedIt.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Susanna.
Thank you, Matt.
Right. That's Susanna Baums, public speaker and presentation skills specialist and author of the book we were just talking about, called From Nervous to Nailed It. Find your voice, present with impact, and unleash your ultimate speaking potential. Next up on Life Unrehearsed, the increasing use of cannabinoids for effective pain management. That's going to come up after the CTV News Update.